Thanks for joining us today on our fourth episode of Cut and Drill Through the Crap. Today I'm delighted to introduce a very good friend of mine who I've got to know through business over the years. His name is Mr. David O'Brien and he operates a company called the Knights Group. And you'd probably know this company if you've got the pleasure of driving up through Drimna on the Davit Road beside the Lewis and the canal. It's a very colourful building with chess pieces as in the Knights. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce David O'Brien from Knights. David.
Hi Brian, thanks very much for the invitation.
You're very welcome, delighted Dave. Thanks very much for coming into us because I know how busy you are and how hard it is to get you to get out of the car.
No more busier than you now, Brian, in fairness.
So in fairness, but this man does be all over the city between and the country to believe not looking for jobs and not jobs for clientele. He's a lot of very, very good high clientele. And I actually happened to meet David. Do you remember where we met first, Dave?
We met, it was a pharmaceutical place out in Brady, I think, Brian. We were doing painting or cleaning works out there and you were working for Height for Hire at the time.
I was working for Height for Hire and it was Solace and I always said it'd be the light year.
And you haven't let me down yet.
And that's Solace are the people who used to produce or still produce, I think to this day, the light bulbs.
That's right, yeah.
The yellow one, black, and you used to see them from the train station. So yeah, that was my first time meeting you, David. And Knights have come a long way, like since.
Well, it's been busy, Brian. You know, it's kind of it's like any business. You try to progress. You know, as technology improves and operations improve, procedures improve. So, you know, we've tried to kind of keep up with that. And I suppose some things work, some things don't. Like we were into things like UV coatings at one stage, where we were curing paints with ultraviolet light so that they would cure instantly and be instantly dry, so it would be very handy for floors, but that didn't take off. But then we got into other areas such as hydrodemolition, which is cutting concrete with ultra high pressure water.
Yeah, that's fantastic. 40,000 psi.
40,000 psi, and it's about the volume of water as well. So we were one of the very first companies in the country to actually get into hydrodemolition.
So let's go back a bit. Where did Knights come from? Like, where did even the name Knights, K-N-I-G-H-T-S, come from?
I can't remember where the name came from. Like, my father and his business partner started the company back in 1982. So we're 44 years on the road now at this stage. So I would have grown up in the company to a certain degree.
It's a massive achievement, isn't it, really?
Yeah, well, you know, in this day and age, yeah, it is to see a company that has that kind of longevity and things like that. But, you know, I grew up down in Dublin Port, down in the docks, in the dry dock, where they were doing the ships. I'd spend my weekends in there with Dad and going around to the different jobs that he'd be doing. And
they were the engraving docks and the dry dock.
The dry
docks, yeah.
Doing like the likes of the B&I ferries and all that, the outside of the hulls, and then there was the cleaning and the insides. And, you know, the pressure would have been huge because the boats had to be turned around in such a quick time, you know what I mean? But there'd be hoists hanging off the side of the graving dock down into the dock itself, you know, and the lads would be hanging out of it, blasting and painting the boats and stuff.
And is that work still being done today?
Not as much because they don't bring the ships in anymore. The graving docks are now closed and all filled in now, actually.
Okay.
Which is an awful shame because, you know, it was a real part of the old heritage of Dublin Port. But because, you know, it's just cheaper to do it in other countries like Poland and places like that, that kind of work moved away out of the docks. But then again, we were very lucky because we were a presence in the docks. We got in with a lot of the fuel companies and stuff like that. So we do a lot of the painting and industrial coatings for a lot of the fuel terminals with their storage tanks, the large fuel storage tanks.
Have you got a key code for the fuel storage now?
I think they've changed it since in the last couple of weeks.
That'd be great to have. Like if you had, like, we could get a few Bowsers down.
But the gas thing is that we work an awful lot in the fuel terminals. You can't get any fuel in there.
Yeah, so you can't even bring your phone in.
No, well, you can't bring the phone in, obviously. But you can't we can't ask them to supply us the fuel. We have to bring, you know, a regular to bring it in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
When you think about it. But I remember even going down as well because I had actually the pleasure of doing a little bit of work with this gent beside me because Accura Diamond, when I set up in 2009. I needed a premises and David was kind enough, in fairness, to offer me the use of the office, so it didn't come from my home address, so it made me look very professional from the offset because I had an office in Davit Road. But it was a beautiful thing because it was complementary to what David's other company is, which is Contech. Yeah, the group Contech.
Yeah, Conservation Technology. So that's another company that we have based down Davit Road. Peter Kelly, who's been with us since day one, so that's over 40 years. He's working with us now, and he's still there. So Conservation Technology specialise in materials for the conservation and restoration of buildings. So we look after things like coatings, brick repairs, damp proofing, structural repair kits. So it's a very niche kind of business, but it's a nice business to be in because it's different from traditional construction. And, you know, the guys who come in, they're real craftsmen, like, you know what I mean? They have a real passion for their work and stuff like that. I mean, you know, Peter in our place is such a font of information. Like, absolutely. He knows so much about the game and about the history for at the very basic of it, like, you know. But he has a passion for the products that we sell.
And he hasn't changed a bit. He still wears the same jacket that
he does. That's the thing about Peter. He's a constant in our place. Like, you know what I mean? Now, look, Peter's getting older now, and he works with us part-time. But like, Peter is welcome to be with us for as long as he's able to.
That's great to hear. And it's great to hear. Obviously, your company is such established as Knights, and it's grown, and it's getting into these different areas, because even we are supplying similar customers to you're supplying today. The likes of the restoration guys will use us for the blades, for raking of the joints.
Absolutely,
to you then for the mortars. I certainly learned a lot from my time, even being out with yourselves and Peter, from the likes of the user agents for Helifix.
Yeah.
You're registered installers.
Yeah, we're agents for Helifix, and we provide the training courses and stuff like that so that they can become approved.
Explain to people what Helifix is, Dave.
Helifix is a really interesting product. It's to do with structural repairs, and they're non-invasive structural repairs. So when you've got, say, cracks in buildings or subsidence or anything like that, they're helical bars, for want of a better description.
You know the kiln was closing now, don't you?
Yeah.
There's too many cracks. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Jeez, you're here all week.
Absolutely.
So what happens with these is that you rake out the joints in a building that has the cracks in it, and you bury these bars in, and what it does is it basically stitches the building back together again. And it's a really non-invasive, cheap way of trying to solve what could potentially be a very expensive product. So it's a really cool one, like.
Oh, no, sorry. I just got to feel like a gynecologist for buildings. Sorry to be cruel, but that's just the way we say it. But you have to have a laugh and a giggle.
No crack too big, boy.
Absolutely. Well, we won't go there. However, it's great to see we're dealing with the similar people and that. And now, obviously, we'll evolve them really with the floor coatings in a big way now, the sealers and so on, and the hardeners, because obviously we're supplying the floor machines for grinding. Yeah,
so you're looking at doing all the actual machinery and the plant for preparing floors and polishing floors and grinding floors and stuff like that. And that's our company's kind of gotten in with you now in terms of partnerships, because we're going to start looking at supplying all of the consumables and the chemicals that are needed for like consolidation and
you see, the whole thing is, this is exactly where companies are respecting each other's lines, because we were asked to get involved in the chemical side of things. I can't be all things to all people, and you can't be either.
No, absolutely.
I'd much rather have it separated. And there's nobody better than you guys for the likes of chemical applications. You know, particularly with your Remmers product, which I learned a lot through the time it used as well. Remmers, these are the same guys as well, by the way, are responsible for keeping O'Connell Street clean. Explain about Remmers, the product you had, Protect Guard, for instance.
Well, we use impregnation products. They're like sealers, for want of a better description, but what they do is they penetrate into the stone, so that it doesn't wear like a sealer normally would. A sealer sits on top of your stonework, and it works for a certain amount of time depending on the level of traffic and things like that. But these products, they're impregnators, so they actually penetrate down into the stone. And what that means then is that it only wears as the stone wears, so it provides much longer protection. But the great thing about those kind of things for the likes of public realm areas is that it protects against chewing gum, for starters. The chewing gum doesn't stick.
Yeah, now tell the people the story about McDonald's on O'Connell Street with the mats.
Which one was that one now?
Remember the one people who were McDonald's were giving out because the chewing gum wasn't sticking to the pavement anymore?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it wasn't sticking to the pavement. So what was happening was that it was being kind of it as people traffic it kind of just it's not stuck with the same adhesion as it normally would. So it basically they're kicking it off the ground. But what the problem then is that it's transferring into McDonald's and O'Connell Street were going mad because it was coming in on the people's feet because they were kicking it off as they were walking in, and it was sticking to the carpets inside in the restaurant. So
I told loads of people that story.
Yeah.
More people when they were going into a concert actually looking and seeing, because it's clean. There is no, and in fairness, that's down to you guys, but also down to another company who we deal with, PMAC.
Yeah,
do a fantastic job in keeping
they do an awful lot of the maintenance now for Dublin City Council around it. So they do a lot of the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. But because the impregnators are there, it means the removal of chewing gum is much easier for the likes of PMAC then going forward.
It's good in the environment. You can put it around flower beds and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's non-toxic.
No smell.
No smell. It's non-toxic. It doesn't change the colour or the appearance of the stone around.
Unless you wanted to, because obviously you've got tints.
There's different types of ones that you can. There's color enhancer versions which will deepen the color of the stones and stuff like that as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And does it change the texture of the? Because obviously slipping is a big problem, and that's what I want to get talked to now. Slipping is a big issue in claims and so on.
Well, the beauty of this product is that when it's applied, it doesn't improve or disimprove the slip resistance of a surface. So whatever the slip resistance was before, it'll be the exact same after it's treated.
And then again, keep it in the family, and it's great because Tony is ancient, isn't he? Still
my dad, he is indeed.
Who set up the company initially. But he's involved now as well because he goes and does skid tests and
he does slip resistance testing now. So he's all over the country doing that. He goes around, he inspects floors, tests them for their what they call it, the pendulum test value. So that's the rating of slip resistance that a floor would have. So he can test it, tell the company what standard it's achieving, and then they can decide then whether they need to improve that or whether it's sufficient for the level of traffic or the type of traffic that's coming across the floors and things like that.
So the range of service that Knights provides is vast, very vast.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of niche. It's a lot of niche stuff, but it is quite wide ranging. Like industrial cleaning, conservation, industrial coatings. Various different chemicals for stone restoration, stone revival. So yeah, we've been looking at we have very good suppliers, no more than yourself, Brian. And the thing is, we like to sell solutions, not brands. It's not about the brand itself. Like we have a number of different brands that'll do various different things, because one size doesn't usually fit all. So no more than yourself. Like you work with an awful lot of trusted partners, and we find ourselves. It's more about the product, what it does, what it achieves, how it performs. The price is, you get what you pay for. So we never claim to have the cheapest stuff on the shelf or be the cheapest in terms of what we do, but we like to think that we provide the right solution for the problem.
Would you also stand over, because isn't there a guarantee with one of those products?
There's a guarantee with a lot of the different products. With the likes of the impregnators, there's a 25-year guarantee with
that's
those.
Massive.
Yeah, it is. And then for the likes of our industrial coating side of the business,
is that how long they can last? These impregnators will last 25 years or more.
As you know, with floors, Brian, people often ask when we do floor coatings and things like that, how long will it last? And you're kind of going, well, it depends how much traffic is coming across it. The more it's used, the quicker it'll wear. But if you can get a manufacturer to give you to stand behind a 25-year warranty, like that's in a public realm such as O'Connell Street, that's a massive vote of confidence in the product.
And what is your favourite floor covering? Would you say? Do you like polished concrete? Do you prefer natural stone?
It's funny because it changes over the years. Like there was a big drive for epoxy coatings years ago, and then
Dundrum Shopping Centre.
Yeah, well, the car park in Dundrum Shopping Centre, we were involved in.
Used it all the paint, and
we were specified to supply the coatings, and then there was the contractor at the time had an installer that, so we were involved in supervising the installation of it because we had worked with.
So that's really impressive because you've numbers. You had to keep the numbers in sequence.
There was the numbers, there was the different colours. That was the big thing, because Dundrum was one of the first ones to actually do an aesthetically pleasing car park.
I love driving around a car park.
Yeah, it's still even to this day.
You sound like you're in bullet.
Yeah, the tires.
You can be in the worst, crappiest car going.
This is it, yeah.
You feel like you're Stephen McQueen, a bullet.
But Dundrum were set the standard of car parks here. Nothing had been ever seen like that before. From the floor to the indicator lights overhead to see where the car parks were free or busy or whatever it was. So that changed the perception of floor coatings and things like that as well. And then, time has moved on. Natural stone carpets were big in the 90s. They're not as big as they are now. Polished concrete is huge now.
Massive.
I love
it. I love it.
It looks great, and it people, when they look at concrete, there's no real appreciation for it. But when you see it polished up, you can see, how versatile concrete is.
But people are putting it in kitchens, outdoor kitchens now.
They're making
and
their
I'm sure you're getting a call. Because obviously you've got to keep bacteria away and so on.
Yeah.
So those same
the likes of the impregnators and sealers and stuff like that would be a big thing in those, and the densifiers and stuff like that we were speaking about earlier. Like they're a big part of, it's not just going in and throwing a machine across the floor. You have to you've got to use certain materials to get your shine up on it, or whether you want it matte or whether you want it glossy. You know, so
all depends. And if you want to throw in different textured stone or different coloured stone,
you can. There's acids for colouring it and all this kind of stuff. Like, you know, there's so much stuff that you can do with it. Like, you could put logos into it and things like that. Now, with
I think it's fabulous, because I think even in the sense that, like, if you put down a vinyl covering or something like that as well, you're having to constantly clean it, and you're minding it and watching. Like, we've polished concrete floor downstairs.
Yeah.
And the beauty, we can drag stuff across it. It's only ever been probably mopped 10 times, maybe.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to say it's dirty, because it's not, because it's sealed.
Yeah, but look how durable and look how strong it is. You know what I mean? Like, you're pulling heavy stuff across that floor all the time.
And there are little cracks in it as well. There's slightly little grazing in it, I think, which add to character.
I was just going to say, it's like a leather jacket. You know what I mean? The kind of the older it gets, the couple of marks and things like that give it a bit of character. And, like, you know, the floor that you have downstairs, you know, it is characterful. You know? And
we're able to show people as well. The beauty of that is we're able to show people. Like, we could have put now a laminate floor or vinyl cover or whatever. I'd be afraid of it tearing. I wanted something that's going to be hardware and that looked conducive and looked related to our business. So when people are looking at our SPE machines or surface prep machines, well, this is the finish you'll get with this. Have a look at this, because you've got the salt and pepper, you've got a heavier grain in this particular here part, where this part, we didn't pour the floor. The floor was originally 26, 27 years old. So all we did was basically, well, we didn't do it, in fairness, PMAC took the coatings off, and they did all the polishing, but they went to different grits and were able to show people what the finish is. And then outside the doors, you're coming in, because obviously we didn't want to put any, we didn't want the emphasis to be on polishing, to show people that you can actually expose the aggregate even more, and it shows you the different colour and the texture. And that's what we want to do, and that's what I much prefer. Polished concrete, but I love concrete even in structures itself. Like,
but like, you look at a standard, you know, as you say, it was an old concrete floor. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And there's nothing pleasing to look at when you're looking at an old. But like, when you take the equipment that you sell and you apply it to this floor, and it's done right by, you know, experienced guys like PMAC and stuff like that. Look at what they brought out of that.
And now they're bringing in micro toppings now as well, which is fantastic. Like, and it's really and you can add different colours, different size aggregates and all to it. It's amazing the difference. It is. Like, good. I tell you, just concrete in general has come a long way.
Yeah, but see, I don't think people have an appreciation for, you know, how technical concrete can be, you know, in terms of your strength, your mixes, your aggregates and all this kind of stuff. Like, we were lucky enough, we got to go to the World of Concrete exhibition in the States a couple of years ago.
I've never been. I've been asked to go several times.
It's an incredible show. Just to see, you know, the technology involved in concrete and what can be done with concrete, you know, not just from, you know, the structural side of it, but from an actual aesthetics point of view as well. Like, you know, it is such a versatile substance that and I don't think people realise, you know, what goes into creating concrete and what can go wrong, you know, and what you can do with it, how you can treat it, how you can change it. You know, it's like they were doing classes and, you know, seminars about different things to do with concrete, and it just blew my mind as, you know, as to what a versatile and amazing substance that concrete actually is.
Even the variations of concrete, like, we get people onto us and ask us, if you've got a diamond blade for concrete, you're asked us, well, what concrete? You talk about, like, what condition is the concrete? Is it established concrete, or is it fresh concrete only poured in 2 to 3 days? Because there's a difference in the life, the longevity, and the speed and performance you're going to get out of the diamond tool. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. Where generally they say, "Oh, I just want a general pour." Well, hang on, we want to give you a blade that's going to give you the best results. So, is it concrete that's new, or is it old concrete? In fairness, we get people going, "Oh, I'm surprised you even asked us that," like, because we don't get asked any other place. Well, see the difference in that blade and see what the performance is versus what you're getting beforehand, and that's why you get people coming back to us.
That comes back to us with the hydrodemolition. Like, when we cut water, or when we cut concrete with the water, you know, people will always ask you, well, you know, how long is it going to take? And, like, you know, it's like, as you were saying, it depends, you know, what's the strength of the concrete, how much reinforcement bar is in there, you know, is it overhead, is it on a floor, is it a column? There's a lot of different factors. Involved? Yeah, the rebar is huge, because the more rebar is in it, the slower it can be. Like, we can absolutely demolish it with the water, but these various factors kind of contribute as to how long it's going to take to do it.
So what kind of projects have you used the hydrodemolition on?
A lot of different stuff. It's used mainly, you know, primarily you'd cut concrete with the likes of your blades and your tools and stuff like that. There's the main reasons you'd use hydrodemolition over, we'll say, traditional cutting methods would be if vibration is a problem.
Passive demolition.
So if you're going to vibrate the structure and it might lead to micro cracking in the concrete and things like that, hydrodemolition doesn't create vibration in concrete. And then the other main reason that you'd use it is if you want to retain the rebar. So we're able to break out the concrete and leave the rebar completely intact at the end of it. So
and then can you treat the rebar yourselves? Is that a service used?
What can be done with the rebar, which is, it's not a prominent thing, and it should be, but rebar should really be coated. Because
Oxidized.
as water, well, you see, exactly, as water kind of penetrates
I
into
learned
the
that word off
concrete.
your dad, by the way.
Right.
Oxidize, and I'll never forget it.
And corrosion.
I use it where I can.
Yeah.
You found the knowledge of that.
Absolutely.
You know.
Without shadow.
How are you, Tony? If you're watching this, hope you're keeping well.
But yeah, so like, you know, because moisture can penetrate into your concrete, because concrete's a porous material.
Yeah.
Your rebar then is in contact with water, it starts to corrode, and then what it does is that starts to expand and it spalls or blows your concrete. Do you know what I mean? So then, you know, that's where we come in then, and we can blast out a section of the concrete. We take, because we're using ultra high pressure water, then that preps and cleans off all the corrosion around the rebar, so that the rebar can either be primed and the concrete can be recast, or you can just recast it without priming it.
And so primarily the customer type you're looking for that kind of work, is it main contractors,
main
architects?
contractors, yeah, architects, they're the kind of the main guys that we would work with, you know, anybody who's involved in the pouring of concrete, because one of the big things that we see is that we're called in if the concrete pour isn't right. So let's say it hasn't achieved a proper strength.
It wasn't vibrated properly, or it wasn't set properly,
or if there was too much water used during the mixing. You know, there's a lot of different factors that will affect the strength of the concrete when it finally does reach its maximum strength, which is usually after about 28 days. And you know, if an engineer comes in and tests a slab that's been poured and it's not meeting the strength that it should meet according to the specification, then it has to come out.
And is there a way of them testing the concrete? Like, are they using radar imaging?
The traditional method is it's a tap test.
Okay.
So the tap test kind of gives you your Newton strength of your concrete. So that's what they generally do when they're testing for the strength.
I didn't even know that, I've been honest with you.
There you go.
So there you go. You learn something every day.
Every day, Brian.
So tell us, what's one of the most memorable jobs you've worked on, Dave?
It's been a few of them, Brian. I don't know, is it good memories or bad memories?
Well, give us both. I'm sure the people would love to hear both.
Well, like, you know, the good.
You don't have to mention company names.
Oh, I have. There's a couple I could mention.
Yeah.
Look, I suppose the memorable ones are the ones that go well, where you walk away and the customer's happy. You know, the job has gone well. There hasn't
Which
been
are 99% of the time, David. Anyway.
99.9, Brian.
Yeah. Sorry, forgot the 9. Yeah.
But then there's always going to be job. Like, contracting is a very risky game. You know what I mean? Because you take on a lot of responsibility when you're getting into a job. Like, floor coatings were always a big one in my book. Like, you know, if a floor coating went wrong, it never mattered how much you were going to get, because you were always going to lose. You know what I mean? If you know, proper procedures, you know, and quality control and all that kind of stuff is very important. But if it goes wrong, it can end up putting you in a very compromising position, because, like, you know, you're still responsible to your suppliers, your staff. You know, you got to pay your insurance and all these kind of things. And, you know, if a job goes wrong, or if a customer doesn't pay,
everything's great until you have a problem, Dave.
Well, this is it. But, like, you know, it's like any contracting, and like any customer, you know, if your customer doesn't pay you, you know, so you have to be very picky about which customers you're using, things like that. Like, we're very lucky in that, you know, on the contracting side of things, we work with, you know, fuel terminals and semi-state bodies and things like that. So, you know, there's you know, you're going to get paid. You know what I mean? But if something goes wrong during the course of the works, and it's, you know, you're responsible for it, yeah, it can be dicey enough at times.
So, staff, Dave, obviously with all the training and so on, do you find it hard to retain staff?
No, we've been very lucky with the guys that we have. Like, our average term of service in our place is 12 or 13 years, I think it is, Brian. Like, and, you know, obviously Peter Kelly would do an awful lot to keep that to bring that average number up. The problem that we're seeing now, though, is that the younger people, there's no more younger people coming up through the ranks
across
anymore.
the board. Unless there's a screen in front of them, and discuss this in the last.
Yeah, like, you know, the work that we do, it's dirty work. Like, you know, we've got lads inside in tanks shop blasting. Do you know what I mean? And it's not
confined space.
Yeah, confined space.
So that's
stuff.
You've confined space. You've got working on heights.
Yeah.
You've then got chemical training.
Yeah.
Firefighting training.
Yeah.
So many certs really do you have to have?
I think the average cost for us is to train a guy to get him onto site would be somewhere in the region of $2,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, per person. Do you know what I mean?
And that's a very specific animal, because obviously you have to have. It's great when you're in paint and coverings and coatings when you're on the ground.
Yeah.
We'd have painted before here, and he didn't even paint the tops of the doors. He wouldn't get up in a skating board ladder, this fella. I'll be honest with you. So, like, you're getting guys then, and then they're having to work at heights, could be 90 feet more.
Yeah. Like, we've had 120-foot booms from yourself back in the day and stuff
truck
like that.
Truck mount hoists and so on.
Yeah, and then cranes and things like that, you know, for really high
hanging over basket,
exhaust stacks and stuff like that. Yeah. But, like, you see, the thing is, Brian, what we're finding, like, you know, we're in the painting game, and, you know, years ago, we'd have an apprenticeship program. But that's not there anymore because young people aren't going for apprenticeships.
Yeah.
And
Where does the apprenticeship even recognise? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you recognise an apprenticeship for to go working for nights?
Well, there's painting apprenticeships. You know what I mean? But we find that there's just the take up on apprenticeships has just dropped off, which is an awful shame because we're going to lose these trades. We actually see it more so on the conservation technology side with the likes of the guys who work with the stone, like stone masing, stone cutting, and stuff like that.
Exposure to silica dust now as well. It's frightening the shite out of people. Like, it really is.
I think we're losing these crafts though, Brian. You know what I mean? If we don't invest and promote apprenticeships, these crafts are going to be lost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, what we find now is, there's a lot of guys from, Eastern European countries and places like that where these crafts and skills are being minded and developed or invested in or whatever it is. But I just see that there's no real focus. The focus is all on college and university now. And, I think we need to get back to where we're promoting.
Yeah,
trades.
but I'm glad the last two leaving certs has been a slight tilt.
Yeah, but it's going to take a generation to get back.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? There's going to be a massive. That's why you can't get a plumber or an electrician to save your life at the moment.
I'm only back from Budapest now. I had a fantastic few days over there. It was my first time there. And I was amazed. I didn't realise that it was actually hard during the World War II. That 20% of the buildings only survived. I genuinely thought I couldn't tell the difference. Yeah. And I'm watching key features and buildings. I'm looking to see eaves and eaves and stuff. And say, like, I think it's a fascinating place for the seeds. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I prefer it to Paris. I prefer it to most of the cities.
I was in Dubrovnik, and that city was bombed really bad in the early 90s. And there was museums and videos and stuff like that just showing how they rebuilt and restored the city, and it was just amazing. Like,
but again, that's a skilled labour, and it's a labour that you can't just pick up off the street and say, I wanted to go and fix it. And I was surprised. I was actually looking while I was on holidays, and now I'll get killed for this because I can't help but I'm counting the cranes. Yeah, and I was actually on the palace, the actual old palace, and I counted the cranes just from this here, say like from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning. And I counted the cranes. There's probably 48 cranes this way, and they're the cranes I could see. And I'm judging the health. I think
it's a real barometer. It's a real barometer for how an economy is doing is by the number of cranes in the air. It is like it really is. Like if you stand down in the East Link and look up the quays,
it's very impressive.
You can see.
Go to the mountains.
Yeah. Oh, that's even, you see the whole city then.
Because even now on the foothills of the mountains where you wouldn't seem to be blended in.
That's right.
But it's amazing for the city. There's probably over 130 cranes in Dublin City at the moment.
But you got to remember, do you remember during the financial crisis, there was no cranes?
Yeah, that's right.
None, and they were all sold out of the country then. And then when things started getting busy again, we had no cranes.
And we didn't think we'd have those skeleton buildings left. Like there's still that skeleton building up in...
Sandyford Industrial Estate.
There's the one up in Tullamore.
Yeah.
That one.
That's right. There was moves recently. I heard of that they were bringing in QSs and engineers to assess.
That'd be a job for hydro demolition because obviously I'm looking at the blade coming through the concrete where the rust is coming through and exposing.
Yeah, it is. But you see, I think that's been exposed for so long. I don't know whether
it'll probably
have to take it down. Let's say eventually.
That's a nice hour just as you come into Tullamore.
That's right, just off the roundabout there. Yeah.
Tullamore's a great spot, I have to say. We have a good few customers in Tullamore. The Offaly people are nice.
Yeah.
They're awfully nice. I couldn't resist it either at the end of the day. So come here, I was away and I had a bit of fun. What are you doing to relax? You like travel.
Love it.
Travelling with work, like yourself.
Very lucky in that we have another company, CashGuard. We sell retail cash management solutions and things. So we're trying to, Where's that now? Where are they coming from? Well, all over now, Brian. When we started first, I first came across it in Norway, and it was everywhere there. And I just asked somebody, what are these machines? They're cash management machines. It's like the vending machines you see inside the shops where you pour the money in and it dispenses the change. So we were the first company in Ireland to start those machines. And
I seen them in the garages now.
And Spars and Centras and all that.
Yeah.
So we started that back in 2011, just during the financial crisis, because I had seen it and I just thought it's an absolute no-brainer. And, things weren't too good in the construction industry. And I just thought it'd be nice to diversify into something else that if this type of crisis ever happens again, that, but I really like
COVID, the product. People were afraid to touch money.
Well, it was all of that,
Never stopped me.
Yeah, never.
Well, never.
Yeah.
During COVID, it was perfect because you didn't actually have that hand-to-hand exchange.
Well, COVID was an interesting one because we had a great year in 2019 and then COVID came and then there was all this move away from cash and we were thought this is going to be the death nail now for this company. But we found now in the last couple of years, again, coming back to staff, because shops and bars and restaurants, they can't get staff, and if they get staff, kids can't count anymore because they're all doing it on their mobile phone.
Yeah.
So they're making mistakes with the cash. So they're either taking it or making mistakes with it. So now we've seen a huge upsurge in the demand for the cash management machines now.
And obviously from thefts as well, because people can't...
they can't access the money.
It's a bit like having a safe for individual safes.
Well, as we always say, nobody can touch the store's money. They'll only touch the customer's money.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, because once it hits the machine, it's safe.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, and then it's counted at the end of the
evening. Yeah,
very good. And what way do you think it's moving now? Where it's moving, obviously, because more and more people are going tapping now, particularly the younger generation.
Yep. Again, that's what we thought as well after COVID. You know, it had moved from kind of 60% cash, 40% card to completely the opposite. I think it's nearly somewhere in the region of 80% card, 20% cash now. But that's where we're seeing retailers and hoteliers and hospitality individuals are moving towards these type of machines, because the cash that's coming in, it's too expensive to process it and count it now. It's not worth it. Whereas these machines count it, you know, they reconcile the accounting side of it and all that automatically. So they don't have to think about it anymore.
You don't have to think about sticky fingers either.
You don't have to think about sticky fingers. You're not going looking for the missing 20
There's no
euro
blame.
note.
You're not blaming.
There's no floats either anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it takes an awful lot of the administration of cash out of the equation and just makes it kind of automated.
And come here, the AI. What's the story? You have a new venture with the AI, I believe.
We do, yeah. So, you know,
tell me about
there's a lot of people talking about artificial intelligence and all this kind of stuff. So we have a new product that's just coming online now. It's kind of an artificial intelligence concierge type. So what it is that we put a kiosk into a store, for example, a hardware shop.
Woolies or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, so when you go into usually these kind of shops, you can find somebody to give you a bit of advice.
That's true.
And if you do find somebody, they don't know what they're looking at, because, you know, these places have 2 and 3 and 4,000 product lines. So you can't expect somebody at minimum wage to know these products intimately or inside and out. So what this system does is it plugs into the store's product list and inventory and stuff like this. So a customer can go and in natural language speak to this AI avatar kiosk.
Actually spoken word.
Completely natural language.
Will understand my accent.
It will absolutely. And in fact, we can.
You're a bit more refined than me, David.
Yeah, that's it, all right. We can even get it to talk in your accent. It's completely Dublinese, absolutely, which is great. But it's really clever in that it'll speak in natural language. It'll only recommend products that are in stock or on the shelf, but it'll also tell the customer where to go to get it. They can scan a QR code and take the customer service agent around. Can
you program it if any of our competitors get this? Go to Accura Diamond.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Go to Accura Diamond.
We wouldn't give it to anybody else, Brian. So yeah, this is kind of a new area for us. I saw this system about 1.5 years ago, and I was so impressed with it. I went back to and did a night course in artificial intelligence. I saw it. It's a Canadian company that's doing it. I saw it at a thing in South Africa. We were talking about travel earlier on. This is because the retail business and the retail technology business brings me all around the place. So we get to go to conventions and seminars and stuff like that in different countries. So I saw this in South Africa about 1.5 years ago, and I was just blown away by it. So I went back and I did a night course in artificial intelligence, and then we got onto this company, and we have the agency now.
Brilliant,
yeah.
What's it called?
Well, we branded as Ask AI. That's what we're branding it as. Okay, so that just to kind of give it an instant recognition.
And you have them in any stores at the moment where people can see them?
We're talking to a couple of different stores now about running pilot programs. Like, the technology is it's so new.
Yeah, I know,
it really is. But
this will obviously adapt.
But it's
with it
moving so fast. Yeah. Like, really, like, we see even the improvements that have been made in the technology since we started. We're running with it. Like, it's improving all the time.
So South Africa, did you go and spend a few days there?
We did, yeah. Absolutely, it was great.
Was it just yourself, or did you bring some of the family?
It was myself, my business partner, and our wives came with us as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that was good. And then we got a chance to go to a retail exhibition in Tokyo there a couple of years ago as well, and that was a fantastic experience.
It's unbelievable. I believe the way everything's gone autonomous, even down to taxis and
everything. It's it's an incredible city. I couldn't recommend it enough.
We're learning a lot from going away to these places.
Well, the reason I went was because I wanted to kind of see what they were doing in the retail technology sphere in Asia, because I like to find new things and new technologies that aren't here yet and bring them in. Like, we did it with the UV coatings, we did it with the hydro demolition, we did it with the cash management, now we're doing it with the artificial intelligence. So I kind of think, because the world is becoming smaller and smaller, you got to go further and further to try and find new things and
You know I like food.
Yeah.
Right.
Japan's the place for you.
I'm sampling different food. So we went and we tried these chimney cakes and these chimney cones. And they relate very much to Budapest and Hungary, the region, but they're lovely. You'd actually love them because they're a bit like a roller from the States. Have you seen the chimney cakes?
No.
So they're actually hollow.
Right.
And you get a little dip at them, so you can get like Nutella or all the rage now is what's the one that's a pistachio.
Yeah.
Pistachio cream and so on. So you get these chimney cakes.
Making me hungry now, Brian.
And they're covered in either cinnamon or nuts and whatever else, and they're hollow. But they're like a roller sleeve that you do paint them with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like you love them. But I was thinking to myself, geez, like, but there's the thing, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Chimney cakes, these chimney cake things, and chimney cones. You get these chimney cones full of ice cream and so on. Like,
excellent.
You know, and it's a massive idea. I tried a thing called not goulash because I've had that at home. I've tried a palanca, which is a little drink. It's like eau de vie or grappa or
like a whiskey kind of. Yeah.
Like a whiskey. Yeah. I tried what was I tried? Oh, geez, the langosh. It's basically deep fried pizza, and they put different toppings on it. Now I tried one between me and the wife, and it was lovely, and we got it with garlic and cheese, and we just shared it. I was starving. You just had your lunch, so you shouldn't be starving. But yeah, no, it's great because I'm experienced when you go around all these different places. But like I have been looking, and I've been looking at Hungary, and I've been like I was away in the UK earlier in the year, and there's something really new coming through there. Because obviously England, the way they are at the moment, it's a bit of a disaster.
Such a challenge that really
even
is.
Like we're going over now to a trade show in a couple of weeks' time. Of the training, not trade show, the training to SPE.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of members of the team's gone, but one of the guys gone over in advance. He's a few customers to hit on the stone side of things, and even bringing samples through.
Yeah.
He's to
get your documentation.
He's getting documentation line for bringing samples through, even though he's going to be bringing them
carnets and all this
bringing
kind
them
of stuff.
back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's very frustrating. We were in Cologne then a couple of weeks back as well. Like I remember even going to France for a time. I was going off to France for holidays, obviously on the ferry. One thing that's very expensive over there, Jack Russell dogs. They're €900. And paint, funny enough, you can buy 12 at 12 paint, and you know you're there on a busman's holiday, you have a look, and you're saying, geez, what could I do now? Because you're always looking for these. I don't like to call it entrepreneur, but I was looking for this. What's the next?
You're looking for the next thing, yeah.
What's the next big
or what
thing?
Could I sell here?
But like, what could I sell? What could I sell that's missing here? Like that's, you know, it's like the guy who designed the thing for your shoelace, the little part. At the end of your shoelace.
Trying to hit on one of those, right?
Trying to hit on one of those. Someone, just trying, always trying, but you know, there's always somebody who'll come in behind you and try and copy what you do. Like,
but you see, I think that's a flattery kind of thing, like, you know, because as I said to you, you know, the cash management ones, the systems, like we've got 3 competitors now where we had none when we started out first, you know, so obviously somebody else has seen value of what we're doing.
But there's nothing more annoying though. Like in fairness, we're very good. You said about suppliers, and a lot of these are very, very strong business partners. They've become very good friends of ours, and they're very quick to send us an email. Like I noticed recently, there's a couple of companies have really tried to challenge us and trying to get into our line of products, which is nothing to do with their line of products.
Yeah.
But they're coming in and they're going to drop the price just to try and capitalise. How would they feel if I was to get into their market? Like, do you come across that much on your side of things?
Yeah, well, you see, I suppose that comes down to, as you say, we don't call them suppliers; they're partners.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way we will take on a product is if we get absolute exclusive rights for it.
Yeah.
And the one thing, you know, in Ireland, customers are desperate for trying to go around you. And they'll make a beeline for the manufacturer to try and get thinking that they're going to get it cheaper. And like we would always say this to any of the kind of partners that we get involved with, you know, look, you know, we need exclusive access to the products that you're not going to sell it to anybody else, and if and when, because it's going to be inevitable that one of our customer comes from our country to you, you just direct them back to us.
Yeah.
And that's worked well because it has happened.
Would you say little traps, little honey traps?
No, because Brian, not you know, you always, I suppose, when you're working with a customer, you're always doing it in good faith. Do you know what I mean? If you thought that they were going to screw you, you wouldn't deal with them in the first place anyway. But it's just.
But then you could be dealing with a guy and have a relationship with this guy for 5 years and have fantastic relationship.
Absolutely.
And he leaves that company.
Yeah.
And a new rep comes in. And then he obviously needs to
wants to make a name for him, yeah.
So he's saying, right, David, instead of taking in 2 pallets a month now, I want you taking in. You feel like, well, hang on a second here, buddy. I don't work for you. I work for myself. I'm working for the company. We're working for the company here. Like, how would you respond? Like, does that happen to you? Has that ever happened to you before?
Yeah, it does. You know,
you've obviously then put them in their place and tell them where it's going.
Well, you got it's like enterprise. You have to be careful. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you know, the maxim is the customer's always right. You try and, you know, meet a customer as far as you possibly can, but then there comes a point where you just have to go, look, do you know what? This is not a business I want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Thanks very much, but no thanks.
Because I do mix business with pleasure, and I'm sure you're the same, Dave. Like, you never stop thinking, or...
But, like, you know, a lot of your friends are people you met in work.
I've met you.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
and I become very good personal friends, as I have a lot of the other guys.
It's synonymous, Brian. You know
because
what I mean?
you're in contact with them. Like, a lot of times you're asking for advice, and you might recommend or get a recommendation, and that's one thing I do love, that side of networking. And then he was going, a friend of mine was on to me there, he recommended you, whatever else.
Yeah.
And that's what I love that side of things.
But you see, when you're passionate about what you do and you're so engrossed in work, you know, the people that you meet, they're not colleagues, they're not customers, they're part of your life.
They are part of your life.
Because you're doing your best all the time for them. Like, you know, your job is to try and give them the best
you're
possible
doing it
service.
open and an honest heart, and that's all you want
and that's
to come
exactly
across.
it. You are,
and the help.
you're
People
there.
want the help.
Your intention is to do your very best for them. Do you know what I mean? And I think that gets kind of, you know, disrespected at times.
And do you find it hard to relax in the evenings, Dave? Or what are you doing to relax?
A big fan of telly.
Same here.
Yeah. So would telly and travel would be my two biggest things. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Spending time with the kids and things like
telly,
that.
What would you go to on telly?
I'm not into the whole fantasy thing, Brian. But the best thing I've ever seen was Game of Thrones.
No, I'm not into it. I was into it.
It was brilliant, Brian.
I was into it until the 20 brought in the dragons and all that.
But that was...
No, I just can't.
I wouldn't be into the fantasy stuff at all, and it took my wife now a couple of seasons to get me into it. Like, but Jesus, once
Mission Impossible and all these films.
I'd be into all that.
I think I love all the military side of things. When you see then and he falling
because your background, is it?
He's falling. Yeah, well,
remind you of your youth.
Old days. When you see a guy and he falls out of a plane, he lands into another plane, or he jumps. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I can't. That doesn't happen in reality. The fella be fucking dead.
Like, it's an escape from reality. Is that what it is?
No, but like I do like a bit of fantasy. But that's a different. But that's.
Are you getting back to the coom again?
No, exactly. So no, I do. I do, and I can leave the brain at home sometimes to watch a particular film. The likes of Labyrinth and all years ago as a kid. Like, I liked Superman. I like the superheroes, and I'll watch it. But like, if I'm not into something, I get bored. I start falling asleep and getting a nudge. Wake up, will you? Wake up. But like, if I'm into something, I like documentaries.
Yeah.
I love documentaries. Like, I love Michael Palin even traveling.
He's
brilliant. On the trains going through, because you get a feel for where you go.
And you see a bit of culture and stuff, like in a different culture.
Like that's part of the reason I want to go to see Budapest, because I saw Michael Palin and what's the other guy, the politician guy in England. Where's the funny cut of clothes?
I know the guy you're talking about. I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, but he's brilliant. And
there's a great programme called Handcuffed Out. Have you seen it?
No.
So Jonathan Wass.
Yeah.
You know, he can't pronounce his O's.
Yeah.
Jonathan Wass is on this. Apologies to anybody that can't pronounce the O's out there. Thank God there's no R's in podcast.
There is a quap, though.
There is a quap. There is, yeah. So Jonathan Ross has this program out, and I just finished watching it. It's called Handcuffed.
Okay.
So basically, you're mirrored against your total opposite person.
All right.
For 2 weeks, you have to spend 2 weeks. It's fantastic. It's a good watch. It is a good watch. So like, you're talking an eccentric millionaire.
Yeah.
With this poor girl who was a cleaner, by the way, Millie, and she was fantastic. They were very good. I won't ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen the end of it, but it's very good. I'd like Gogglebox. Gogglebox is good. Yeah. It's actually not bad.
You do feel like you're in it sometimes, because you're as guilty as they are.
So the UK Gogglebox.
Yeah.
Who have you got a favourite character in it, have you?
Your man Lee is very funny. But Pete and the sister.
They're very good. He cries at the drop of a hat.
But he's very funny though.
He is very funny, and the different mugs they have.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're very good.
I like your man, the truck driver fella with the...
That's right, Dave.
He's deadly with the Rottweilers.
Yeah.
They haven't had the Rottweilers on now in a while, I've noticed. But no, I like that. I like reality TV. I've liked the Yellowstone series.
That's
and there's a new one out now, Marshall, which is after.
That's
coming.
right, yeah.
And there's another one with the sequel with
1944 is coming out.
I've seen 1924.
Yeah,
seen them all. They're all fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Your man Taylor Sheridan is just
exactly. He's very good.
Whatever he touches turns to gold.
And he's a very good horse rider himself.
Well, he owns a ranch and all that kind of stuff.
That's
now
right.
As well, yeah.
But he's in part of it himself.
Yeah, that's right. He's in it. He's the buddy of absolute asshole.
He is. Yeah, but he's very good on the horse. He gets the horse to go left and right.
Oh, the dancing horses and
stuff. It's amazing. Can you ride a horse?
No.
I tried it once, Steph. How
was the horse?
He had 2 blue eyes. I was up in Blessing years ago.
After you got off him, was it?
Before I even got on, I was nervous. And what's his name? Superman. What was his name? Clark.
Christopher Reeve
was after just falling off a horse, and I talked myself out of it.
Oh, did you?
As you know, I can talk myself out. I actually thought I was getting on this horse, but I didn't I had to get a box. stand up on this horse, and I just said, no, let me off. I didn't like the height I was up, and I said, no, let me off. And I didn't like not being in control.
Really?
I honestly didn't like it, and I was glad I didn't, because one of their lads, Richie, who always gets immense nowadays, by the way, he was on his horse, and the horse threw him off, and Richie did running. He had the backseat running with the horse to get back on. He wouldn't get back on the horse again. But I was glad I didn't. I just sat in the pub and had a few points.
You know, time well spent.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, thanks a million for coming in.
Absolute pleasure.
Really appreciate the chat we've had.
Likewise.
We've had a good discussion
As
over
always.
a lot of things there. We've many years behind us, and I hope we've many years in front of us. So
Appreciate
thanks
it,
a million,
Brian.
Davey. Best of luck.
Absolute pleasure, Brian. Thanks a million.
A lot.